So we're with DJ Nick Nystrom today. Tell me a little bit about how you got started, um, and just like the journey of like your intro into your DJ career.
Sure. This starts 23 years ago, so imagine that time frame. That might be older than you are, Shay. I'm not
Yep.
sure, but
Nope,
this is
that's
great.
not quite.
That's fair. That's fair. So yeah, I started 23 years ago doing weddings. That was kind of how I got my start in the DJ business. I was going to weddings actually 23 years ago, 22, whatever. And I was like, there has to be more than this type of music at these events. Like it was during dinner, people were just, eating dinner and leaving. Just because
Mhm.
the DJs were playing, it was the same songs at every wedding I was going to. It was always a mixture of like, I mean, back then, 20 some years ago, we're talking 80s and 90s for the most part in terms of music, but it just was the same thing. And I said, there has to be something more than this in the industry. So I played music as well on the side. So I had all the equipment and I thought, I can do this. I can do this, right? So I approached a family friend that was getting married in a few months. And I said, hey, do you have a DJ yet? And they said, no, we weren't going to do a DJ. And I said, how about you let me DJ your wedding? And so that honestly went way better than expected. I had a bunch of people come up to me and be like, how long have you been DJing? I didn't know you did weddings and things. And I'm like, this is my first one. So that kind of opened the door for me a little bit. And I was like, all right, this might be something I can do for fun, right? That was the whole idea behind it is it was passion for me. I was excited about it. I thought this is like fun. I'll just see where this goes. So obviously now fast forward 23 years later, I'm still doing weddings, of course, because that's where I got my start. You never forget where you came from.
Yep.
But I definitely branched out into a lot of other events, corporate events, bar scene, proms, really you name it. I've probably done some sort of DJ event at some sort of gathering. And really that's for me, that's the most exciting part of it is just being able to perform music and create an experience for people regardless of the setting, regardless of the occasion. I feel like music's always something that should be at every event, and some
Mhm.
people just kind of forget about that or miss the mark on that, I think. And that's just a small little ad that I think if can go a long way to creating a cool experience for people.
I agree with that. I feel like music can like tie in the emotion and like I don't know. Sometimes I feel like a song ties me to a certain event. So like I just remember like this exact event and then the song that was playing in the background and it just like creates that nostalgic moment for me. So I understand that completely.
I'm all about recreating those nostalgic moments, right? They say
Yes.
core memories, you grew up, and sometimes smells will do that too. If
Yep.
you smell something, you'll go back to a certain place or time, but music has that ability 100%. And so for me, I try to recreate some of those experiences, right? If I think back to 15, 20 years ago, I still play some of the same songs because they're timeless,
Mhm.
right? They still
Right.
work today and they still create the new memories for the new people experience it, but also bring back those old memories for the older people that have experienced it in the past. So it's super cool. I
Right.
love
I love that. Yeah. So let's kind of get into the music industry. Obviously, this is going to be a little different because you're on the DJ side of things, which is super cool. So, what do you think is the most rewarding aspect of being a DJ, like in the music industry today, I
Yeah.
guess?
It's a great question. I think for me, the most rewarding part is the community. I don't think I would have said that probably 10, 15 years ago. I feel like 10, 15 years ago, we all kind of kept our heads down, stayed in our own lane. And it was like, don't talk to my clients. You don't talk to this DJ because they take all the business. And it was really, I will say it was a little cutthroat back in the day. I think that there's that same maybe level of, I don't know what you want to call it, competition maybe is a better word for it in the music industry in terms of the artists that play in bands and stuff like that. But I think that they've came a lot farther, a lot quicker, just in terms of building community and things, where DJs maybe have been a little more isolated because typically a DJ is just, it's one person usually. You're by yourself. Maybe you have a crew if you're a good or a larger DJ, production, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's really the DJ, just like it's the artist, right? Hundreds of hours practicing alone, right? In a room where no one's cheering or no one's clapping. And it's like, how do I take that same practice and execute that for an experience for people, right? Because it's all about the end of the day, the fan experience or the guest experience, or whatever you want to call it. So for me, I think the most rewarding part is putting in all the work, putting in all the hours, building a brand, right? And then going out and being able to actually play. I think sometimes DJs get so lost in the practice portion of it and maybe don't just go out and try something because listen, I've been out many times and messed up live, and I probably will moving forward. But I think that's how you learn as an artist. I think you learn from those mistakes. One thing I always say in terms of rewarding for me is watching footage back. I know a lot of artists are really on the fence about watching their own stuff back. Like, I don't like to hear my voice back or whatever the reason may be. But for me, I treat it like a sport, honestly. Like I grew up playing sports. A big part of sports is watching your footage back, right? So as a DJ, why would you not want to watch your craft, watch your stuff, right? Because in the moment, you might think this sounds awesome. This drop is insane. That mic work was impeccable. And then you listen to it back and you're like, that's super cringe. Like this guy needs to stay off the mic, or maybe work on his transitions in that bedroom I was talking about earlier. So I think for me, that's super rewarding, is being able to go back and watch content and like really kind of look back and see, how do I get better from what I did, or what worked well in a certain room? How can I recreate that? Because starting this journey of DJing on social media, that's a whole nother element of things. I started pretty much really leaning into it at the beginning of this year, and 7 months in, I'm finally getting some traction, but there's still moments where I post a video that I think is going to do really well, and then
Yeah.
it flops, right? There's just no interaction, no engagement. And then there's videos I post that I'm like, this is just, I just need content for the day, and I throw it out there and it gets 100,000 views in a day, right? So like that's a huge difference in terms of what I'm perceiving as like success and rewarding, and maybe what other people online, right? Because the people online maybe are looking for something different out of DJs than maybe like people that hire me, that want to go out and book a show. So I think for me, it's trying to balance the rewarding aspect of being able to watch my stuff back 15 years from now, 20 years from now. And then also balance like making sure that what I am putting out there aligns with my client's brand and my client's vision. Because sometimes you try to do stuff for social media when maybe a client might be like, no, I'm not really looking for that, right? Maybe the more
Right.
corporate professional client maybe wants something a little bit more, in the lane of that lens, versus just kind of like letting it go and trying to do stuff at a bar that's like, it's engaging and fun and exciting, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it depends on what client you're trying to book, I think, is the end of the day. So
Right.
rewarding for me, definitely being able to capture all the footage, watch it back, and really share that with people. Because I hope other DJs learn. That's how I learn, watching other DJs put stuff out, and that's rewarding for me. And seeing other DJs grow, I think that's probably another aspect of it. I mentioned community.
Mhm.
Now I think we're in a great place. We have a great community in Iowa, especially the Iowa DJ Society we started 3 years ago, and there's 116 DJs in there now.
Jeez.
Weekly posts, weekly trade shows, gig swap, post gear, reviews. We talk smack on brides in there. So just FYI, if you're a
I
bride out
like
there
that.
getting married, your name might pop up, but good thing it's a private group and you got to be a DJ no, I'm kidding. We don't do that often, but either way, you got to look out for your other DJs is I guess what I'm trying to say is community is probably the most
Yes.
rewarding aspect.
I like that. That's kind of what I was chatting with last time, is how, especially with social media nowadays, we can use that to tie in a bigger community too, which I think is so important because you can't grow by yourself. So making sure that you're using social media to its highest advantage, especially now, is like so important. So yeah. Okay, so kind of talking about the industry and how you've seen like the community development and that kind of thing. What positive changes do you think the industry is taking in regards to like supporting your community and growing the DJ industry? Because I feel
Yeah.
like in terms, like at least I've seen like DJs are getting so much more popular than like when I started going out a couple years ago. So I just love seeing the growth. So what do you think you see positive changes?
Sure. I think the big thing, we talked about community, right? I think not only in your local community, so like, for example, Iowa DJs have kind of united. We have a group, we have a forum, we have a place. You take that to a larger regional level. There's things like Midwest DJs Live. I went to my first Midwest DJs Live earlier in May, and that's a yearly conference that's been doing it for 16 years, actually, up in Milwaukee area. And it's DJs from all around the country come in for a few days, and we get workshops, and we get to network, and we get to like see the latest and greatest of tech and all of the things. That was an amazing experience for me because I've been following a lot of these DJs online the last few years when social media has really kind of propelled wedding DJs and other DJs into the spotlight for the most sense, especially, house DJs, club DJs out in Vegas, Ibiza, James Hype, that whole like thing that's going on right now with DJs. That's more of your festival DJ, which is fine. But at the end of the day, I think all of those things, regional events, and then now we're starting to get like recognition at the Vegas level with James Hype, international level with him, and some other DJs have been doing it a long time. I think that like that aspect of growing those DJ shows and really having the big influencers in the industry come in. Think about imagine the music industry if they had like, maybe they do have something like this, but like a conference where like 7 or 8 of the best bands their managers, the lead singers come in, the artists come in, and then they're on a panel and they just talk about how they're operationally doing tour, all the things around how to promote their bands. I'm sure there's industries, stuff like that, but the wedding industry slash DJ industry is huge in that. Like they really have come a long ways with these different shows they put on. The Wedding MBA, Midwest DJs I mentioned. I'm headed to Nashville next week, actually, July 14th, for 4 days to stay with 12 other DJs in a DJ house on Music Row, and we're doing a rooftop party. We're all
I
getting a
love that.
slot at one of the Broadway bars on Nashville rooftop. They're creating content for us. We're doing headshots. We're doing promo photos. We're throwing a huge party on Twitch as a 5-year anniversary for this group. So like it really is growing these types of events across the country. There's also a couple really big DJs on, I would say big in terms of like they own multi-ops in other states. They have a huge social media presence. They do like videos for DJs, video for, reviews on gear. 3 of those guys put together what they call a recharge every year. They've been doing that for about 10 years. And I'm going to that for my first time. That's in Raleigh in November. And that's about 60 DJs. We get together for 3 days at a house and basically on site work on like music organization, scratch techniques. We work on building set lists and playlists, MC skills, right? Talking on the mic, really all of those things that like really help us in our day-to-day work, really just leveling up, right? And I've never done any of that stuff outside of this last year. Like I've always just kept my head down, do my thing. I get
Yeah.
referrals. I must be doing something right if people are calling me up saying, I saw you at this wedding, or I saw you at this event, like we'd like to work with you. That's all great. But when you start to get outside of that and investing in yourself, right, and networking with other DJs across the country, ones that have millions of followers on Instagram, that's inspiring, right? To sit there and be like, they're following me now on Instagram and I can shoot them a DM and they respond back. Like to me, that's like huge, right? I'm sure other artists in the music industry, right? Like, I'm sure Lady Gaga's messaging Beyonce and they're like, it's no big deal. They're probably like, yeah, I can message her, no big deal, right? Like, but to me, that's insane, right? But like at the level the DJs are at, like, it's cool that like everyone is so down to earth for the most part, because DJs have egos. Like, seriously, DJs are weird. Like, we all are very unique. We all have our own little like quirks and things, but like at the end of the day, we all love playing music for people and we love the experience of creating that, memory for people. And I think that's what connects us at the core. So now I feel like slowly we're getting to a place where DJs are connecting with other DJs. We're promoting other DJs mixes. We're subscribing to each other's Patreons, right? Which is super cool. Like the fact that DJs out there have their own Patreon accounts and like they make their own edits and their own remixes, and like those get popular. And now certain DJs people follow because we know DJ Scooter always does insane Morgan Wallen remixes, right? We know if a new Morgan Wallen song comes out, he's probably going to have like a 50 Cent remake of it or something with like Morgan Wallen over 50 Cent, right? But those
Yeah.
are like things that are very cool. Then I get to download them because I have access to them. And then I play them out in my market and people are like, whoa, this is crazy. I've never even thought about blending these 2 songs together, right? You can tag that DJ in your Instagram handle when you play it and have a clip of it. And then he shares it on to his audience, right? And then over time, that just really helps each other. So I feel like the DJ community is in an amazing spot, and I think we're only grabbing momentum forward, especially with some of these shows that are really kind of happening. And they've been happening, like I mentioned, long time, right? Like 10, 15, 16 years, some of these shows. But I think the last 2 to 3 years, they've really kind of gotten popularity after the pandemic and after DJs had to basically go dark because we couldn't do events. They really, I think coming back, people were like, how do we really connect with each other and help each other versus being like the, negative Nancy on everybody's
Yeah.
post back in the day, because it's like, you're taking my gigs and I can't believe that DJ's terrible. And you still get some of the DJs that just that don't want to play nice, but
Right.
or gatekeep. They don't want to give you their mixes, or they try to do things. It's like at the end of the day, sure, if you want to protect your IP, that's fine. I'm down with that. But there's plenty of other DJs that want to share and want to like help each other build and get better. And I think that's where I'm at.
Well, I think and that's the only way to really grow yourself as a DJ too, because if other people are playing your mixes, then your name's out there more than just what you can put out there. So I don't know why you wouldn't want somebody to be playing and sharing your music. Like
I would
it's gonna help everybody grow.
totally agree. I think I can probably say most of it stems from DJs like using other DJs' mixes and as their own,
Right.
posting it and being like, yeah, this is my mix or whatever. Or I think some of it too comes from where like a DJ will do a really cool wordplay, like transition from one song to the next and use like a word in this song to hit the word in the next song. And they call those word plays when they mash them up. They're very fun to do and they can get
Yes.
very complex and like you got to really be listening as an audience member to catch some of them. But like some DJs will do really good ones and then other DJs have taken that routine, which is fine, right? Like it's like
Right.
covering someone else's song, but then they'll do it better or not maybe better, but they'll just do it and then they'll get more visibility and they'll go way
Mhm.
more viral than the original person. So I think there's a little bit of that like, well, that was my transition and I created that and then somebody else did it and did it better. It's like that's part of the game, I think.
Right.
I think personally, to your point, yeah, I want that, and if I ever do post another DJ's mix, I always give them credit, right? But I still get comments online like this is an Even Steve mix, and I'm like, yep, it says in the title, and I've tagged him. And if you actually follow Even Steve, he shared my post saying, "Thanks for dropping my edit, DJ Nick Nystrom." Like I don't know how many more things I need to do to make sure I cleared it with the people at
Right.
B. But you still get haters in the comments like
Right.
stolen transition, not doing it live, and it's funny because at the end of the day, most of the people at these festivals, these bigger festivals, most of those DJs are pre-recording their sets. I hate to break it to
Right.
you, most of them are, which sure, that's fine. At the end of the day, I don't know if the crowd necessarily cares, but like I do, and I know some other DJs do, like making those transitions and doing them real is a big part of the job. But
Mhm.
yeah, there's times I play pre-recorded stuff because I'm in a bar or I'm in a setting where I don't necessarily need to. And again,
Right.
no one's ever came up to me in the real time and been like, that wasn't real. You didn't mix those two. Like they're dancing, they're laughing with their
I
friends,
was
they're
gonna say
having
most
fun.
people can't even focus on the fact that you are like what it is. Like they're not
Right.
paying enough
Blending two
attention to
songs
if it's
together and like
pre-recorded or live.
exactly. And like they just like that it sounds good to them and it makes them
Right.
dance and have fun and that's why we do it. So I think you're still going to get that hate. I still deal with comments all the time, especially the more visibility I've gotten on social media, the more comments you get, right? They say like,
Right.
I always tell people, don't hate the player, don't hate the DJ, hate the game. Like it's part of the game. We're all playing this game and it just depends how much you want to play it, right?
And I think that's gonna be like that no matter what. Like there's haters on everything. So
There absolutely is.
sports, music industry, somebody always
Always.
has something that they need to say.
Yep. So I always take that, try to use that as like fire and fuel. And
Right.
sometimes I do take it as criticism or like I'll take it as feedback. Somebody like, okay, maybe there's multiple comments saying the same thing that maybe I don't agree with, but maybe that's the perception that the video's putting out, right? And
Right.
as someone that likes trying to book shows and get clients and stuff like that, there is an element. I've posted stuff before and I've deleted it right after, like or shortly after I did a video of a wedding couple that was a great funny video, but it didn't give the best light to the couple because it just kind of painted the picture that everybody was really intoxicated when that wasn't at all what was happening. Some girl actually just was dancing and she was dancing to get low and she went too low in her dress and she just fell down, like just just fell down, and her friends like had
Right.
to help her up and everyone
Happens
was
to all of
laughing.
us.
It wasn't because she was drinking, but then I
Right.
posted it and then I was like, someone could think that she was drunk and just fell down. And I didn't want the bride or groom thinking that like I didn't want that perception on their wedding
Right.
and their friends and family. So I was like, I have plenty of other videos, right? So there is sometimes where I do try to say, I want to make sure that like my clients are okay with everything I'm posting. And then if they do see it, I don't want them to think, oh, this guy's like too much. And that's fine. If they think
Right.
I'm too much for them, that's fine. We're probably not the right fit. There's plenty of DJs out there, right? So that's why I always like to try to give a very good variety of stuff out there so that way
Right.
they can see me mixing, they can see me interacting with people, they can see me being very professional, but they can also see me cutting loose at a prom, right, with like 1,000 high schoolers, right? Which they'll tell
Yeah.
you right away if you're not playing the right thing. You'll see those
They will.
phones up,
They're brutal.
Bad Bunny, and it's like, yeah, I just played Bad Bunny, okay? Like I played 5 Bad Bunny songs in a row, and you're still Bad Bunny, and we love
Yes,
it.
yes, every time.
We love the Gen Zs. We love it.
Feeding off of that, do you think it takes a certain kind of personality to make it in the DJ industry? Just
I
because you
don't think
kind of
so.
like are putting on a show, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's what's amazing about DJs and about musicians is that everyone does it their own way for the most
Mhm.
part, right? Everyone has their own style and it's up to the audience or the people to kind of find what you like, right? Because I have a lot of friends that listen to a lot of the EDM and like really deep EDM, even like trance music, like stuff that sure, like I just personally don't get into it. It doesn't excite me. I don't really listen to that, but I respect it, right? And so like there's a ton of DJs that I look up to that do that style of music that are amazing at what they do, but I don't like listen to them or subscribe to them or anything because it's just not my style of music, but I
Right.
respect what they do, right? And I think that there's always room for more DJs because there's DJs that do just weddings that don't talk on the mic at all that maybe make an announcement or two, or there's there's DJs that I know that do trivia or they'll do karaoke, right? That's a very
Yeah.
different style of DJ, but there's always a need for it, and people like different styles of DJ, right? Like, and no DJs are, like I said, we're all very different, and that's what's cool, I think, about musicians in general. There's a lot of crossover too, because I've played guitar for a long time as well, and I feel like when I'm preparing for a guitar show with a band, or if I'm preparing for a DJ set at a wedding, I still get the same feeling. And I think that's why I enjoy it still, because it's still preparing music, it's still picking a set list, it's still working on your craft, it's still
Right.
delivering an experience to someone at the end of the day, whether that's online or in person or both. I just think that like DJs are very similar to musicians. I think we're all kind of cut from the same cloth. It's just we just get different perceptions because of the nature of what we do. But I will say I've seen a lot more DJs and live musicians partner up together. I've had the opportunity to do a couple of corporate events with a live violinist, like electric violinists.
Oh,
I'm DJing and I'm laying down like mostly all the popular tracks I normally would play at corporate events to get people dancing, but they're her versions of them. So there's spots where she has room to do her violin solos and add like Little John, like Get Low, she did that on the violin. Like I was like, this is
that's so
insane.
cool.
So like that was
That's so
just
cool.
okay. And I've seen saxophone players with DJs. I've seen a duo DJ drummer outside the Dallas Cowboys game 2 years ago. Went to the Cowboys game, and outside the stadium at pregame, they had a DJ and a drummer, and they were so locked in. It blew my mind. Like I stood there for 30 minutes, like I didn't want to go to the game. I just wanted to watch these two because he was dropping awesome routines as a DJ, but then the drummer was right with him on every transition to every song, and I'm just like, this is so cool because like
I love
I
that.
always want more bass and drums as a DJ. So
Yeah,
like having a real one was so cool. So I
that's
just think
so
there's a
cool.
lot of opportunity for crossover. I think we're going to see a really big act, DJ band act someday again. I mean, I know like Linkin Park,
Mhm.
Incubus, all those bands had DJs in them. Slipknot, they have a DJ in them, right? DJ
Yeah.
Starscream. Let's be honest, like they
Yep.
all have an element of DJing in there, and I think that like there needs to be more of that, I think, in bands and just break that down, break that silo down. Yo,
I like
bands,
that.
if you're looking for a DJ, hit me up, right? Like,
Yes, there you go. Yeah, I think that's cool. I like that stuff. So we were just kind of talking about collaboration and working with stuff. What's the best collaboration that you've ever gotten to be a part of? And why do you think that it was so like great and made such a good experience for you?
sure. I think for me personally, it was
Mhm.
probably New Year's Eve this last year, ringing in the year to 25. Friends of mine, a band in Iowa called the Pork Tornadoes, pretty famous band in Iowa in the Midwest, do a lot of shows. They give opportunities to a lot of other local bands and musicians over the years. I've been lucky enough to open a few shows with them over the last few years, leading up to New Year's Eve this last year, where we did a sold out Valair Ballroom show, which was amazing.
Mhm.
I got to open up the show for 2 hours, and then we had a couple. We had an opening band called Bad Friends, and then the Pork Tornadoes took the stage and played up until about 10 or 15 minutes before the ball drop, and then I came back on and played up into the ball drop and through the ball drop, and then they came back and played the last like 30 minutes of the night. So it was I didn't get to play with them on a song. That's maybe next, but like literally like DJ
Yeah,
band. It just works so
I
well. And of
like
course,
that.
for me, having the experience I love playing Valair. I've played there a few times, but nothing ever sold out. Nothing ever like on New Year's Eve, and nothing
Mhm.
like to be able to DJ for a few hours in front of 2,000 people. It was just for me awesome, right? Like I have just as much fun sometimes at smaller venues and things too, but like that moment for me was like, okay, this is what it could be if I really wanted to like tour and be a DJ that went on tour with bands, because there are
Right.
a lot of good DJs that go out with bands. I just saw Wiz Khalifa at Valair not too long ago, and he has his DJ with him is
Mhm.
incredible, and he's been with him a long time, and he's always out opening the show for him. And I'm like, that, how do I get that gig, right? Like that to
Yeah.
me, I'll be the opening DJ. I don't even need to be the headliner. Like I like opening. I like setting the vibe, right? Like starting off, and then I can sit back and watch some talent. So I think for me, that's probably been the most like rewarding in terms of like fun, actually like professional level show that I've played. But I think looking back, There's been a lot of fun collaborations over the years with just different bands and venues and just brands. I'm looking forward to one coming up. It's called Club Cafe. Phoenix Lee is a local event promoter here in Des Moines. He does like the vintage fair and things like that, but puts on a like a coffee style event. It's called Club Cafe once a month. And so in August, we are getting ready to announce this. This is like a little bit of a preview, but it's going to
Yeah.
be down at the Daisy Chain Coffee, a place in Raygun, the building down East Village. It's going to be, I think, like 11 to 3 on a Sunday in August. And then there'll be some vendors there. Coffee, obviously, will be there. And then really going to create like a fun, like kind of house style vibe. And people can come and have coffee and just kind of check out vendors. And so I'm very excited about that. I think
That sounds
that's kind
so
of
fun.
I think it's a unique idea, and he's been doing this for a few months now, I think already. I'm just excited he reached out and approached me, said, "I like what you're doing on social media and your events. I think you'd be a good fit." And we've met and talked about it, and I think it's going to be just a lot of fun going forward. I think for me, collaboration on future things with brands, with businesses, with anything. I got an opportunity to play at Lululemon. They had a in the mall
Yes.
actually. They had a corporate event for their club members for a couple hours a few months back, and they reached out, and I got to set up in store. So I was like the DJ in the window, you know. So you're walking by and you're like,
Yep.
oh wait, is that a mannequin? No, it's actually DJ Nick, and he's in the mall. That was super cool.
That's
People were
so
walking in
cool.
like,
That
wait,
sounds so
there's a
cool.
DJ? I loved it. I had just a fun time with the staff and just really fun. And actually what's been cool is they've reached out a couple times actually for opportunities outside of their store there. I think they must partner with a new gym workout facility opening up here in Waukee, and they're doing a grand opening and Lulu's part of it. So they reached out and were like, hey, we need a DJ for this grand opening. Do you want to like come in and DJ that? Because we loved having you at the stores.
Right.
It just shows you like do a great job at one event or one collaboration, and that usually, you know, if it's a good experience, that bleeds into other opportunities and more opportunities with other brands, and that's kind of where I'm at now. I feel like I'm really starting. You know, it used to be all referrals. I never did anything. I kind of sat back and just took events as they come. I'm not necessarily going out and getting events now, but I am seeing opportunities and saying like, hey, what would a partnership look like? What would a collab look like if we did something together? And that's going really well. And now it's starting to flip a little even more to people saying, hey, I have an opportunity. We need a DJ. Are you interested? And that's really where I want to get to, right? I want to be the go-to DJ in the market if they want a luxury event or they want like a fun event or they want like just an event they know that can really make a fan experience or a guest experience like the best possible. I want them to like DJ Nick. Oh yeah, DJ Nick's the best one, right? Let's reach out. So that's where I want to go. I guess in the next few years is try to get to that level of like corporations are thinking about me, local businesses are thinking about me, wedding people are still thinking about me, right? Like, you know, your uncle and aunt, they're having their 40th wedding anniversary or something. They're thinking about me, right? Like I just want people to think a DJ, yes, a DJ. Because I think you said something earlier about, you know, DJs are starting to become more and more popular, I think, which is great. I think 10 years ago, when it came to the wedding scene, DJs were number 5 or 6 on the list in terms
Yep.
of what couples cared about. And now, fast forward 10 years, I think we're in the top 2 to 3. We're usually right behind the photographer, next to the venue. I mean, literally, it's usually the entertainment, and that could be a band or a DJ, but typically in the wedding space, it's more so DJs. But yeah, and I think the reason for that is DJs can just be so versatile, right? Because we can play any style of music, we can cross genres and not even think about it. And I know there's some great cover bands that do that, but they are still limited because they are a band, right? Like you can't just come randomly like play this song, and some bands will, and they're amazing at it, but most are like, oh, this is kind of our style. So I think having the flexibility as a DJ to kind of walk into any event and play anything at any time, kind of change the vibe, set the vibe, is really why I think DJs are becoming more and more popular, because these events now are just getting more and more diverse. I mean, this
Yep.
event planning is just, it's crazy. It's been crazy, but I think even more after the pandemic
And
now,
I think
it
it's growing so much more right now. People's
is.
events are just like the level that we're at is so much higher than it used to be.
Same with the expectation, you know, the guest
Yep.
expectation now is sometimes like so high. And if you don't meet that like instantly as a DJ, sometimes I'm like, They're like, oh, this is not going to be a fun event because it just like it's not what I've seen from the last 5 weddings I was at when it was $100,000 budget, right? And this wedding's maybe just people are doing it because they're doing it like themselves and like they just still want a good DJ and they prioritize good music, but it's just a different level of expectation. So I try to capture it all personally. I think capturing all the stuff, because some DJs will just post like the really high end stuff, and that's fine. Like, and I get it. Like their brand probably attracts more high end clientele because that's all they show. But for me, like I want everybody to be able to like work with DJ Nick. I don't want to like price myself out to a place where no one can work with me. Now, don't get me wrong. There are times where that does come up where like, a couple has a certain budget or an event and I'm like, I'm just sorry. I can't meet that. And that's fine. Right. I know other DJs and I'm more than happy to connect them with other DJs because everybody at the end of the day does have a number. But most of the time I can make it work. And that's what it's about for me. It's like, if I can make compensation to make it worth my time and the client gets what they're looking for and is happy, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a win-win. I think more companies and more people should look at, I think, into DJs and live music again, because I feel like sometimes that's just a lost element of some events.
Like you said, it creates that nostalgia moment that you're needing to remember an event, especially if it's something that corporations or businesses want to keep going in the future. I feel like it's just like it's that little added touch to your.
Agree, and I will also say one thing I've been doing is trying to tie in my DJ experience to the brands that I work with. So whether that's even if it's a couple, like couples have brands, people have brands, people have like, and you call it a brand, but like, you have what you like, you have your image, whatever you want to call that. As a DJ, for me, I like to tap into that. Like, how can I lean on your brand or you or your story and really incorporate songs, things like that in my set that really speak to that? Because I think that's where DJs are going, and that's what event planners are looking for nowadays, is how can DJs really tie in the brand or the messaging into what they're doing in a way that's not like in your face and weird, but it's also like, wow, that was cool. Like that had a theme, or that DJ really aligned well to that messaging of that brand, whatever that could be. So I think that's really what I'm really working on next, is just trying to figure out how do I get better at tying the image, the vision, or the brand of that person or client I'm working with into my experience I'm delivering. If I can do
And I
that,
think that that's huge because that also helps create like a sense of like family and meaning. Like you're showing that you care about them more than just like a client. And it's like you care about them as a person. You want to grow business and like have that relationship with them. And that's the difference between them booking somebody else and booking you too. So like
I
that's
love that.
huge.
And even booking me again, right? Like they're
Right.
like, wow, that was great. Nick's kind of like part of the family. I've done a couple events for a couple companies here in my market for like 10, 11 years running, right? Like their holiday party for the last 11 years, I've been the DJ, and I'm just like, it's a non-negotiable. They're like, if you work at that company and you have the holiday party, I'm the DJ that's there, and I've always been there, and I'll probably always be there, just because it's been such a great working relationship with that company, and I've gotten to know the staff over the years, right? So a lot of them think that I work there. Like they're like, where do you work from home? But we just see you once a year. I'm like, no, I'm actually just a contracted, but I've done your party for so long. It's so fun. So I love that.
I love that. Okay, cool. Let's talk a little bit about the other side of the music industry. So we've kind of touched on like a lot of the good of it. Obviously, music industry isn't always perfect, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't really understand. So, kind of talking a little bit about that. What do you think some of the biggest misconceptions people have about the music industry, specifically like from a DJ's perspective? Yeah.
Um, Depends on which slice of DJ industry you're in, right? Weddings are very different. Wedding, corporate, I kind of lump those together, are very different than maybe your bar party, corporate party, or not corporate, private party kind of world. I think some of the misconceptions are, number one, you got to put the work in, like the time behind the scenes to practice your craft. Obviously, I think that's a no-brainer. I mean, we've all been out and listened to musicians at like open mic night, right? Where it's like that's good, but like like sure, not everybody has the skills, but sometimes I'm like, man, if they would just practice a little bit more, they'd sound way more polished, and then they would come out and do this, and it would just be much better for them. So I think some of the misconception is not putting the time in to really make make it your craft. I think a lot of people see the DJs online and at these huge festivals, these festival DJs, right? Just hundreds of thousands of people out just rocking out, and like it's just one guy spinning some buttons, just doing some things, right? It's wild to think that, but I think there's so much behind the scenes that go into that performance that people don't know. So I think there's just a misconception of like, oh, it's easy to be a DJ, just press a couple buttons and turn a few knobs and that's it, I just think there's a lot more to it depending on the style of your, that you're DJing. I also think that there's an element too of just like you don't have to you find your lane or find your style as a DJ. Not everybody has to be on social media, right? There's plenty of DJs I know that are working DJs that play 60 shows a year, 70 shows a year that don't post a single thing online, that are booked, that have a great time, and they work for clients that a lot of times they can't take photos because they're doing stuff for corporations that they don't allow any sort of photography or any sort
Right.
of social media because it's it's a company and they don't want that stuff out there. And so some of those DJs, their misconception is like that they don't really care about what they do. They just they're lucky they get hired to just DJ these gigs because they know someone. But really, it's not usually how it is. It's usually they have the right connections. They do an amazing job at the events. They just maybe don't have the social media stuff to show for it at the end. So that's where it's really tough to kind of figure out, how do I build a brand around that if I can't really share or talk about what I'm doing because I'm always under an NDA or something like that. So I think there's an element of trying to figure out who you are as a DJ, right? And then trying to understand, how do you fit into the overall picture of the promotion, building a brand, the whole engine to get out there. Because I think that there's a
Right.
misconception around, it's easy, you just go live a couple times and then you'll have 100,000 followers and people will buy your mixes. Like that's just, sadly, it's not how it is. And I know it's the same probably way in the music industry when it comes to artists and musicians. It's like you got to put the work in, you got to really create that image, that brand. And then when you put that stuff out there, you usually have to keep putting it out there because that's how you get visibility, right? Like I talked
Right.
about growing social media. Another misconception is like you post a couple videos, everyone says they can post videos or gets inspired. I'm going to go back, I'm going to post every day. I'm going to post every single day. And then they post every day for like a week. And then the next week they post 4 days. And then that following week, maybe they posted twice because they were low on content or they didn't have a lot of time. And then it's like a week goes by and then I need to post once. And then by then the
Yeah.
algorithm's already forgotten about you. It has. That's how it
Right.
works, right? So like unless you're posting every day consistently, you're never going to get out of that like small little area where you just kind of
Right.
throwing stuff every once in a while at the wall. And that's okay too, right? I just told myself as a DJ, I wanted to see if I could grow my online presence and really try to grow what I'm doing on there. And really every single DJ I talk to that's doing it right, that has they've done it, they just say consistency is the key. Like
Yep.
that's it. Like, you just have to consistently post. And if you do that over time, you will slowly gain traction. And I will say, I mentioned I started in January everyday posting, and we're at July now. And I think this last month I had 450,000 views on my
Yep.
profile, and I gained 1,100 followers. And I've been under 1,100 followers for 6 years on Instagram. And in 30 days, I've gained as many as I have total. And those are all net
Right.
new just from Reels. And it's like almost all of them are just new people. But that's because I've been posting every day and my content gets shared and liked. And then it slowly starts to feed out there. And then that allows people to click and say, follow. Oh, I follow, right? And then they
Right.
get more and more. So it's definitely it's a game, right? You're just literally like playing the game, but I think we're all doing it if we want that visibility in that. And slowly it's turning into paid gigs, right? That's the goal, is like, great, I put all this time and effort into curating content, consistently posting, trying to create a message from or a story from my brand. And now people are starting to say, oh, this is cool. Maybe I should reach out to this guy. And I've had people reach out just from seeing me on Instagram saying like, we like your vibe. We think you'd be fun for our party. Now, sometimes it ends up being spam. It's
Yeah.
usually the ones that are like, we would love to have you play at our corporate party. And I'm like, this is the exact same wording as like 6 other messages I've got. So I don't really typically follow up on too many of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some out there and it's been going great. I know a lot of the DJs I do follow that are really, really big, they're getting flown around the world now to do
Yep.
opportunities, like getting flown out to do a 2 or 3 day DJ set somewhere for a corporate company that saw them on social media because of all the followings and they so I will say, if you're interested in posting or you think you want to do it, just be consistent. That's my biggest advice, is just be consistent. Like if you're not anything else, if your content's terrible, if you're a trash DJ and you can't mix anything, Okay. But you still post every day, you're still going to be better off than the greatest DJ in the world that posts once a month or once a week. It's just facts in terms of visibility and getting the ability to be seen. And that's really, I think,
Right.
what social media is. It's a marketing mechanism to get your brand out there, to get other people to see what you're doing, right? And the more compelling your story is, the more content you post that speaks to people like clients of yours, the better you're going to be and the more traction you'll get overall and the more opportunities you'll have for
I think
gigs, you know?
that's huge too because I just started working with a couple new clients who haven't been using their social medias like they needed to. And like, for instance, one of them was dropping a new song, and I was like, I know you think you're being annoying, but that's the whole point. If you're not being annoying, if you're thinking about it, how many people are going to click through your story that already follow you? Probably half of them. If you want new people, you have to consistently like post 2 to 3 times a day, whether that's on your story, whether that's making 2 reels a day and really putting yourself out there. Otherwise, you're not reaching a new audience. You're hitting those same followers, and they're not going to have the same interaction with it as those new people who are just now being introduced to your stuff. So, like, I'm constantly telling them, no, like, you need to be annoying. Like, you need to, but keep posting and be consistent with the posts, or you're not going to get those new people. I don't
Well
know.
said.
I think that's one thing that people just like don't understand is yeah, you think you're being annoying, but you're not reaching half of those people, especially depending on when you're posting it. Because if I'm following 2,000 people on Instagram, I'm not seeing everybody's posts either. So it's like you have to consistently put it out there. I think people
Totally
don't
agree.
understand that.
I agree. And it's work too, right? And now there's software programs that let you, schedule stuff. Like I
Yep.
subscribe to some where you can schedule videos weeks if you're that good, months ahead of time, and then you
Yep.
got a queue of stuff. I try to stay a few days ahead, but again, ultimately you got to have the content, you got to have the time. So
Yep.
for me, it's like I try to stay a few days ahead, but at the end of the day, I've told myself just if I can put one reel out a day and then maybe a few stories here and there, it's been going well. But there's still
Yeah.
times that I'm like,
I think you
this
do a
video.
great job of using your social media too to promote yourself. And I think that's huge because I don't see a lot of people doing that. So
It's
I think
easy. It's free.
that's
I
one
always
thing that
tell
you do
people,
very, very well is you're
they
consistent on the social medias. And
well, thanks.
everything is always different. I love that.
Gotta keep them interested, right? Always say, what
Yeah.
would I like to watch? Would I like this or would I swipe through? Sometimes I'm like, yeah, I just need some content, so I'm gonna post it.
Yeah.
But if I can try to say, like, if someone was gonna hire me, would they like this video? And if the answer is no, I probably need to reframe it with a different story or some different
Right.
captions or just a different section of the video to kind of tell the story a little differently. Because at the end of the day, we're all trying to tell our own story. Whether you're in a
Yeah.
band or you're a DJ, it's like, why should I hire you? Why should I work with you? Listen to my story. Listen to my story,
Yeah.
right?
And social media is the perfect way to tell people your story. I
So
think too many
is.
people try to keep it so like just like their music, straight caption, nothing else.
Yep.
But one thing that I love to do is tell a story with the social media. Like there's more happening than just dropping songs. Like their songs mean something to them. Like it's the story of that.
Totally agree. I think someone once said to me, like, who's your like a couple months back, a DJ said, who's your client again? Do you book other gigs for DJs? Is that who hires you? Other DJs? And I'm like, no. He's like, all your content is catered at other DJs. Like it's you showing your technical mixing skills, you blending this track to the other. All cool stuff. But like most
Yeah.
couples or most clients that would hire you, they probably don't care about that as much as they care about maybe how you interact with guests, how you're planning, like some of the other things that are maybe they care about. And I'm like, ooh, that's a very good feedback point because I was curating a
Yeah.
lot of my content to other DJs because I wanted to fit in. I wanted to show them that I can mix too, and I actually can do this, right? And then once I said I don't need to do that content for other DJs, right? Like no, I started shifting what messaging or story I was telling, and it really started getting better traction with my stories
Yeah.
because people were like interested in the interactions that I would have with a guest or a request or just some funny moment that's happened in the audience and then my reaction on the microphone. Those types of
Right.
things I think are just more interesting to watch and people like them
Shows your
more and
personality.
does. Being authentic is hard, and especially coming through on videos that's authentic is very tough, especially with all the social media people that are out there just doing the game. Like I'm who I am in person as I am online. Like that's what I try to be, is congruent in my life, right? So it's like I'm maybe
Right.
10% more, a little bit 10% more hype on stage as a DJ than I am
Right.
offline. But that's part of the thing. But I'm not like wildly different. Where I do think some people play a persona and play a part for social
Right.
media, and then maybe you meet them in person, they're this completely different person, which is fine too, because that's their brand or their image. But
Right.
for me as a DJ, I think it's important to be authentic and play the music that you like and that represents you, but do it in a way that you can entertain other people. I think that's huge.
Right. I like that. Okay, so kind of tying into the stigma behind DJs in the music industry, how do you navigate through the competitive nature of the industry without losing your passion for it? I guess because obviously you're putting in lots of time, you're giving up a lot, and then because in order to be competitive, you have to consistently. We just talked about that be so consistent, and that's obviously going to give up a lot of your free time. So how do you kind of navigate that side of the industry?
Yeah, I think for me, it's probably, I'd say 5 years ago, like I think right before the pandemic, actually, like 2018, 2019, I was getting burned out. I was doing just tons of weddings, pretty much just weddings. That wasn't doing any other events. And I was playing the same style of music at these weddings. 'Cause, like, for the most part, weddings, you don't branch out too much. It's pretty much
Right.
the same songs because it's that ages 2 to 80, right? You're kind of playing for the whole demographic of people. And in the Midwest, especially, it tends to go, similar styles of music. We're not getting too crazy. However, though, I was getting to a point where I just wasn't getting inspired anymore. I was playing the same songs. My set list looked the same. I was going back through each set list of each night and looking, and it's like so similar in songs. And I just felt like I was just rinse and repeat, right? And that's not why I got into it at all. I kind of felt like I was back 23 years ago when I heard the DJs playing the same things at the wedding, right? Like I kind of had a
Right.
flashback of, oh my gosh, I am that guy now. I'm playing the same thing, and there's somebody in the crowd going like, this DJ's just phoning it in. He's playing the same things. I've seen him at 2 weddings this summer, and he plays the same thing, right? So I had to step back. The pandemic happened. That got me into a place where I started live streaming because that's all I could do, and I was just doing streams every week or every other week, and I was calling it coffee sessions. I put a whole series out on my YouTube around just me in my basement right over here, just literally playing songs, talking on the mic, doing what I do now, like out and about in the bars. But that really kind of started getting me like, okay, I'm playing different music now. I'm really starting to understand like what else is out there, what else can I bring in for certain shows. Don't have to always just play the wedding stuff. And then over time, as things loosened up again and the world started opening back up, I started taking other gigs. I took a couple bar gigs. I took a couple like just random like middle school tailgate things, like just super like whatever I could do. If it's some, I just was like, I'm gonna say yes to every gig I get for the next like 2 years, just
Yeah.
anything. But by doing that, I found myself in like I was on House Guest, which is a local Twitch show. Chris Coffey runs it, and he has a house DJs come in every week during a certain part of the year, and it's a live Twitch stream, and it's all house music, and I've never done house music. I like house music. It's probably one of my
I love
favorites
houses.
to listen and DJ. And I was like, oh my God, I think I really like house music. So I deep dived on house for a few months, really put together a set that I felt represented me and the songs I like. And then I reached out to Chris, and I knew a few DJs, and he put me on. I got on House Guest. I did an hour set. I recorded it. I love it. And now to this day, I'm like, I can't wait to go back next season. And since then, I've, even in my bar scenes, I'll jump out and do a little house, 3 or 4 house songs,
Yeah.
because people be like, yes, this is awesome. And I love it. Like, that's probably my favorite genre. But by doing that, I was re-energized. Like I was
Right.
like, oh my gosh, like I started getting the music feels again. I was like on the hunt. I subscribed to a few music pools, and I was like deep diving these artists that I like had never heard of before, but now I'm like obsessed with some of these house artists,
Yeah.
right? So now I'm like, how do I work some of those songs in that maybe not crazy EDM, but how do I pull some house stuff into weddings, right? And make it fun
Right.
so like some of the guests that are at weddings that would never hear good house music get a little taste of that, and maybe that'll open them up to like, oh my gosh, I like this music, this style of music I didn't even know existed, and now this DJ's playing it at a wedding in Iowa. This is so cool. So I think for me, that finding new music, doing different events to get outside your comfort zone really kind of broke the mold for me. And now I'm like, I can't get enough of all the different events, right? And I have crates support my corporate stuff, my bar stuff, my prom stuff, because it's all got to be clean. I can't have the
Yeah.
dirty words in that. So I have them now. So now it's like no matter what event I do, I kind of have some pre-made folders or crates that kind of help me curate that experience, right? I kind of all around feel like if it's like a corporate event, but if it's like kind of vibes and people are having cocktails, it's like that corporate disco funk stuff I play, and that really gets some kind of foot tap. And so I think just trying to stay inspired, right? look at other DJs, other people in the industry, what they're doing, follow other artists. I know for a while I stopped following a couple of streamers online because I felt like my content was too similarly mirroring their content. I think just subconsciously, like I'd
Yeah.
watched so many of their reels and videos that I was like starting to do some of the same things. And I'm like, I don't want to be accused of taking anyone's style because I'm my own person. So I just would unfollow them for a few months and go back to the grind. And then now I'm refollowing them again and seeing what they're doing now. And just, I've had some great conversations with other really big DJs that have huge followings that have been nice enough to do a 30-minute call with me to kind of look at my content, give me pointers on what I'm doing. And like that's, I mean, that's huge, right? Like just
Yes.
to network with DJs in other states that are, doing the same thing I'm doing, but just in a different area, like we can relate. And it was just,
Yes.
I mean, the community is just, it's awesome. And I'm taking that on myself, right? I told you the Iowa DJ Society I started. I wanted to make sure that like we grew our Iowa community. And now we're 3 years in, I look back and I'm like, wow, we actually have a pretty sweet community. And now we're like, I've met so many great DJs in Iowa and like now we're friends. And it's like, that's so awesome to me. And that's what I want to carry on in the next 10 years or 15 years of my legacy is like, how can we continually make Iowa DJ Society one of the best DJ communities around so that other states hear about it, other markets hear about it? Like,
Right.
oh, you're in the Iowa DJ Society? That's sweet, right? Like, I just think that's so fun. And I want to continue to do that. And I think that's what's really, really inspired me is connecting with other people that do the same thing because we all go through the same struggles and it's great to talk and share those stories. And then really just trying to find new music, do different events. Maybe if you're a band or an artist and you're getting burned out, learn a reggae cover if you're in a metal band,
Right.
or if you're in a reggae band, learn a rock cover, or try to like figure out a way to like do a cover of a genre but make it your own. And like that alone will get you re-inspired and excited about like whatever you're doing.
Right. I think that's huge. Tying in with the burnout. So, what are some behind the scenes struggles that kind of tie into that burnout that people don't know about?
Yeah, I think it's probably time commitment, right?
Mhm.
Family and friends. I think that's probably the biggest thing is like, when you're building a brand and you're working on something you're passionate about, that takes time away from people that care about you and people you love, right? So I think at the end of the day, trying to balance the things you're
Yep.
passionate about and the time you're putting into that with the people aspect in your life is just super important to make sure you always remember, right? Because there's been times where I'm just heads down cranking through stuff and I just all I can think about is where am I booking this DJ show? What do I have coming up next?
Right.
Where am I going to find these songs? Like it's never ending if you're in the game. Like no matter what you're doing, if you want to be the best at it, it's never ending. There's always things you could be doing.
Yep.
So it's just like trying to be intentional. My word of the year 2025 is intentional. Trying to be more intentional with my time, with what I'm doing is it's still hard. Like I still get super like in just
Yep.
one thing to the next and I never stop, but trying to be intentional about like, okay, I'm gonna do my DJ editing for the next 2 hours. After that, I gotta stop and I'm gonna go spend some time with family, right? Those
And
types
I
of things.
think
Just
that, right. I think that's a huge kind of theme that I've gotten a lot is like I was talking to Dre last week and he said, I don't see my friends. I legit never see my friends. But that's how it is. If you want to make it in this industry, you have to put in the time and grind. And sometimes that's choosing between going and hanging out with your friends or putting in a couple extra hours to make your craft better. I think a lot of people don't understand that. They want to live this really awesome, cool rock star life, but they forget that a lot of these people don't have time to maybe do the same things that everyone else gets to do every day. I
totally
think
agree.
that's important for people to understand.
It is. It can be so hard too because you're out doing this a lot of times by yourself, and so many
Yep.
hours go into the behind the scenes and all the brand building and all the things. And the actual thing we care about is performing. Like at the end of the
Right.
day, everyone just cares about the actual performing, the actual
Right.
being able to do the thing that we started doing, which was playing the music or playing whatever. And going back to that, it's like that's where I always try to say like all of the prep work, all of the things are great all the time, but like at the end of the day, I need to be putting enough time into actually playing, right? Because I feel like sometimes the social media, the editing, the networking, the emails, all the endless
Yep.
everything else can take over all the actual time that you need to be just doing what you love, which is why you do the thing you do is
Right.
to play, right? And that's where I'm like, that's why I take a lot of these gigs, like bar gigs or whatever gigs that are they're not really high paying or anything. It's because I know I can carve out, I can play for 3 hours. I can go play for 4 hours on this date. And I don't treat, it's not like this is a paid,
Right.
paid practice. It's not, but I know I can go in and I know I can build a set list or a crate going into that event and I know for the next 3 or 4 hours on this day, I get to have the best time, like the best time. And that's really where I'm so excited now. It's like, even for weddings, those are very stressful. And I got a couple coming up here that are going to be fairly large, that are very like detail oriented. But like, I'm just trying to remember, I do the planning, I have everything ready to go. There's no reason I need to be stressed about it. I get to go and play music for 6 hours or 7 hours, like cocktail
Right.
hour. I get to do, dance music. I get to do slow dance. I get to do all of the things, which is awesome as a DJ to do and curate someone's dream day, like the day they've been waiting their whole life for. I get to be the guy playing music for that. Come on, nothing better than that. That's why I'm in the wedding
Exactly.
business.
Right. I love that. Okay, let's kind of end it out on a good note. So, what kind of advice do you have for any DJs that are maybe up and coming, they're just starting, and they're just kind of trying to get to the same place you're at right now?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we talked about earlier, consistency is huge.
Yep.
Even if that's just in practicing when you start out or being consistent in the way that you schedule your practices or set up your gear, right? Just consistency will always help you as a DJ, because if you be consistent in all the things you do, then when you do run into an issue like something's wrong, you can lean back on that consistency and that practice to help guide you through those moments, because it will happen. As a DJ, a sound card won't work, or a cable goes out, or your computer locks up middle of the stream, right? Middle of whatever. You always have to have a backup, right? Work through those scenarios. So for me, consistency is huge. I also say put yourself out there. I think I waited too long to maybe not too long, because I've been posting content for a long time. I go back to my YouTube channel and I have wedding videos from like 16 years ago that are like 480 quality that you can barely see the people because they're so pixelated. But still, like, thinking
Right.
back, I think I would have tried to capture more of that content. But like, again, I was limited to the technology back then. So looking back,
Right.
probably not. Nowadays, though, if you're just starting, my goodness, first thing I would do is pick a platform that you want to start your DJ journey on, whether that's Instagram, TikTok, or all of them, whatever you want to do. Go ahead, create the accounts, the URLs, right? And then really just be consistent in if that's what you want to do, right? I have other DJs that could care less about the social aspect. They just want to book gigs and play shows. And if that's what you want
Right.
to do, then your focus is emailing venues, right? Going out and networking with local chamber of commerce or young professional groups, or going to like school board meetings, like anywhere there's people that they gather, that there's some sort of event that they would have yearly or biweekly or bi-monthly. Talk to those people, send them emails, drop them a card off, right? Create some
Right.
super cheap merch that has your DJ name and drop it by, and then they'll leave that on their desk and they might think of you when
Right.
they have a party. It's like all of those little things. That's what I would do if I were trying to get started now, is figure out who I want to be as a DJ in terms of a brand. I would also focus on what events do I want to do, and then put the work in and really just be consistent. I think those are some of the things that really, they sound really easy and they're really boring, but usually the really boring, easy things are the things that get you farther in
Yep.
your career, whether it's
Yep.
DJing or music or corporate or whatever. It's usually the
Yep.
consistent, boring things that get you far. I know my example that I've used recently is fitness. Like the last 4 years, I changed my fitness journey. I was not healthy. I was way overweight. And then, 4 years later, I'm in the best shape of my life. But it's been because I've been consistent. It's been because I
Right.
show up and I just do those little boring, boring, boring things every single day. But over time, those little tiny wins have stacked up to
Right.
monumental changes in my life. And that's really just apply that concept to anything you do. And usually over time, you'll end up on the right side of it. So I think that's probably the advice I would give, is just be consistent and be authentic, be yourself, right? Don't try to be someone you're not. Because at the end of the day, if you're trying to copy someone, ultimately, you're never going to be happy, because you're always going to be trying to
Right.
copy that next person. If you can just be yourself and have fun in what you're doing, people see it. Like, people do see, like when I'm doing an event, dancing behind the DJ booth, smiling, just like
Yep.
having the
Having
time of my
fun.
life. People have a hard time like not having a good time, or like not
Right.
being like, man, what is that guy on, right? Like, I'm just enjoying myself. You should too, sir. You should
Right.
also enjoy
Right.
yourself. And usually they're like, all right, or they see me doing it, gives them just the opportunity to like relax a little bit. It's like, we're
Right.
having a good time. This is supposed to be fun. Life's way too serious. We need to have more moments where we can just relax and chill.
Exactly. I love that. That's such a good little end mark. Do you have any little final things that you want to say before we end
No,
this?
but is For the Plot, is that kind of your brand? Is that kind of, or just something fun that you like? I love.
So that's funny because Dre just asked me about it last week and he loved it. And For the Plot is what I live my life by. because I think too many people are scared to just put themselves out there and do stuff, just kind of like what you were saying. But my whole thing and why I do so many of like like what people would say is crazy or like going on tour with some bands, like that kind of thing. I always think and like, I'm like, should I do this? Well, yeah, for the plot. At the end of the day, it's for the story. You're creating your own story. You have to like put yourself out there. Otherwise, I mean, I don't want to live just an average life like everybody else. So I live for the plot. So my friends made me that sign to put up for my podcast,
I love it.
which was super cool because I don't know, that's just how I live my life. I think everyone should at least live a little bit of their life like that. Otherwise, like, what are you doing? You only have so much of life. You got to enjoy it.
Hey, we're all our own main characters, and if we're not like rooting for us, what
Exactly.
are we doing, right?
Exactly. I live my life as my main character. And if you're not, I don't really understand what you're doing.
I agree.
It's kind of like the whole reason why I wanted to start this podcast is because I'm so intrigued about everybody else's story, especially in the music world. I think everyone has gotten to a point on their own and like their journeys are so, so different. Even if like from the outside it looks like they might be the same, they're so different. And I just love hearing it. And I want to create like the same kind of story for myself. So
I love that.
that's the only way to do that is by living for the plot because otherwise you're not
You're gonna
making
have
any
to have like
memories.
you're gonna have to have like AI interview you on your own show. Like you're gonna have to figure out a way to like do this with yourself to culminate like the full for the plot series, you know?
I want to do like little clips too, which I'm still like working on, where it's just like me talking about different things that I'm experiencing while I'm working in this industry.
Yep.
Because I think like I am a different perspective since I'm not a musician, I'm not like a DJ, I'm not an artist. I work for them, so I see a lot of different things, and I just think it's really cool to understand like what we see, like the stuff that we go through. Is I don't know. I think it's fun. I would not change my life for anything anymore. I think it's so fun and the stories I have are so cool, but I just kind of want to share my stories more.
I love it. I love what you're doing. Seriously, thanks for having me. I think this is a
Yes.
great series. I think excited to see follow along. You'll have to make sure to share the
Yes.
YouTube with me so I can follow along. And then yeah, send me the recording. I'd love to throw it in
Yes.
my
I
AI
got you.
software too and clip it up and make some fun content that I could
Yeah,
tag you
of
and
course. Of
help
course.
promo and share because I don't have a lot of good content like this. I have a lot of me DJing, but I
Yeah.
love mixing it up with a little more like stuff about the industry and promoting you and your show and everything too. So like let me know how I can help and how I can help promote
Yes.
because this was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me
I
on.
will,
I love
but
it.
thank you so much for doing this with me.